So we're working in partnership on this project together, supporting autistic individuals into apprenticeship. And I just wanted to stress really that it really is a partnership. It's not just a case of NCFE funding this project and that's kind of it. We're really working collaboratively together. And we are working with a range of different colleagues within NCFE, so the innovations team, the accreditation team, the cash team, marketing team, endpoint assessment team, and the evaluation team as well. So it is a really collaborative approach to this project. I think as well we've really got aligned thinking and we've got some common thinking and aims of both organisations around this agenda. So again, it just works really well together from our perspective.
Yeah, so just to follow on from that, I think the NCFE vision to promote and advance learning and create a fairer and more inclusive society through education just aligns exactly with what GMLPN were trying to do with the autism project. And so when Charlotte approached our organisation to work with us, it was an absolute no-brainer in terms of supporting some of the most disadvantaged learners in the UK to access educational opportunities that will help them reach their potential. And it's been a really exciting opportunity to get really close to the beneficiaries of the project, the sort of regional scope of the initiative and the ability to talk directly to the stakeholders and the participants is a really exciting opportunity for NCFE. And some of the testimonials and the case studies that are coming out of the project are really inspiring. And I think that's something that at NCFE we can be really proud of supporting.
As it kind of says in the title, it's all around supporting autistic individuals into apprenticeships. From research we've done, we know that only 21.7% of autistic individuals are actually in employment, but we also recognise the huge kind of talent pool that is out there that employers are missing on, and kind of the benefit they can bring to a workplace and the benefit they can get from being employed. So there's 3 project aims. So there's one around working with local training providers to support those autistic individuals into apprenticeships. So that's kind of looking at the technical skills they might need to progress alongside the employability skills as well. And I think ideally we want them to progress into an apprenticeship, but we're kind of being a little bit flexible with that because we know that although that might be the kind of their starting point and what they think they want to progress into, we recognise that apprenticeships might not be right for all once they've kind of done some more work. So ideally progression onto apprenticeship, but it could be other best next steps, so a traineeship, study programme, college course, that kind of thing. The second aim is around supporting stakeholders to best support autistic individuals. So that includes training providers, employers and referral agencies. And that's just through a range of kind of capacity building and toolkits that we've developed. And I think what we're finding is the feedback and the challenges raised throughout the project really kind of supports the need for this piece of work specifically within the project. So that's great. And then the last is really proving an effective model. So we want this model to work, and obviously it's come with a few challenges that we're kind of working through alongside NCFE and the other project stakeholders. But we want an effective model that works and can hopefully support other autistic individuals outside of the project eventually to progress into apprenticeships. One of the things we're doing as well is looking at some of the key challenges and how we can take that to key agencies, so the Education Skills Funding Agency and the Institute. So one example of this is gathering feedback around endpoint assessment and reasonable adjustment specifically. So we've recently produced a feedback paper gathered from feedback obviously through the project, and with some key recommendations that we'll be circulating as well.
And from an NCFE perspective, we've been supporting, well, in the first instance, it was mainly around research and evaluation. So the research and insights team were providing their expertise in supporting that proving effective model aim that Charlotte mentioned. So conducting interviews to try and get a sense of how this bespoke individualized mentoring program was having an impact on the learners' perception and confidence towards apprenticeships. As the project has progressed and as Charlotte has really clearly described, we've been gathering a lot of feedback, and that feedback has clearly shown a need for these toolkits and the toolkits to be disseminated widely. But what we think we have the expertise in as an organisation is the ability to be able to publish this content and make it as engaging as possible, and also use our channel, the channels that we already have, to get as quickly to the end beneficiaries as possible. So the Cash Alumni platform is ideal for that. We've been working really closely with the Cash Alumni team to take the toolkits, break them apart into standalone pieces of content and articles, and also to produce videos and blogs that can be shared through a dedicated community page for this project that all the stakeholders can access, and will be continually updated with best practice information that's coming up, new guidance, case studies, testimonials, so that if you're a current project participant, you can look for information, guidance tailored to what you need. But if you're considering taking on an autistic person and making your workforce more neurodiverse, or you're thinking, I am a person who has an autistic child, for example, and they are considering their next steps, and I don't know about apprenticeships. Well, this is a dedicated point of information that you can use to inform that decision. And it's a really, really exciting project, and I think it really supports all three aims of the mentoring and support, and the proving the evidence model that Charlotte has been so brilliantly managing up until this point. I think this will give the ability for us to scale that support to other parts of the UK very, very, very easily, in a very sustainable way. But it will also give us an opportunity to be able to gather feedback, get information back, develop that research in a really rich way.
Yes, so I think from the individual's perspective, I'd say one of the biggest benefits of the project is kind of, it's not a prescribed program, and it is really, really flexible. And what's been common throughout all of the conversations we're having with every project participant and stakeholder is that need for individualizing the support. So we've not gone in and said, oh, everyone needs 6 weeks support and you're going to cover this, this and this. What we've done is allow training providers, obviously they've got a massive expertise in supporting individuals, so using that expertise and working with the individual to really look at what it is they need to do to be able to progress into apprenticeship. And I think that's one of the real positives of this kind of initiative. And again, it's just making sure everything is individualized. And like I said, that it's just a really common theme that keeps coming out. We just keep bringing it back to that individual. And everyone's different, and everyone with autism is different. You're not going to meet two autistic individuals that are exactly the same. They're each going to have different support needs. So having that flexibility with this project and allowing providers to really pick up on what it is the individual needs to progress, work with them on those specific elements, and able to for them to progress is really, really welcomed from both providers and the individuals as well.
Just to follow on from Charlotte's point, obviously one of the key sort of targets for the programme was to support 20 students onto apprenticeships. But as Charlotte was just saying, the individualised approach is really key, and what success is for one person isn't necessarily success for another. And what's really amazing about this programme is that we get to recognise those different types of successes, those different types of journeys and stories and progressions. So if a student comes to the programme, they've been referred onto it as because they've shown an interest in an apprenticeship, but they don't have the CV or the confidence or the skills to get them to the point that they feel confident and ready to take that next step. Even if they haven't taken the apprenticeship yet, that's still a success, and that's still something that NCFE can really proudly say that we have helped make happen through our sort of in-kind support, but through also funding the great work of organisations like GMLPN.
Just to add to that as well, I think we've made the support sound really straightforward and easy, Frank, but probably just to stress, there has been some challenges. It's not been kind of smooth sailing throughout. Just an example of some of the challenges, it is taking quite a few sessions of support with the training providers and the participants. That's due to a number of reasons, whether that's personal reasons. One of the examples that came up is autistic individuals don't necessarily have a lot of trust in the skills system. They might have had bad experiences before, so it's just building that trust and that relationship with the provider. And it's just sometimes it's taking a little bit longer than we'd initially anticipated, but obviously we can build this kind of best practice into the toolkits and the content that we share wider. But yeah, just wanted to stress that there has been challenges as well as positives, but it's kind of good that those challenges are coming out to be able to inform others to best support them. I think the toolkits for the stakeholders are one of the biggest results so far. We kind of admit we're not experts in autism, but we can bring those, and we are bringing those experts in through the different groups that we've got. And when we started to look at what resources and training and information was out there about autistic individuals, there's like a ridiculous amount of information, and it's really confusing and it can be overwhelming. So what we've done with these initial toolkits that we are building on, and as Frank said, we're kind of turning into a bit more of an online community, but the toolkits just bring together some of that information, that key information that they need to kind of get going in supporting an autistic individual. So that's got stuff about training in resources, best practice that we're building on through the project. And I think one thing again that comes up is people in education are often time poor. They've not got time to sit and read and read and read. They just want to find what they need to know when they need to know it. So these toolkits and what we're doing going forward help just to signpost to some of them resources and training that can really help them. I guess another result is Frank and I have heard from one provider that is supporting quite a few autistic individuals through the project. So it is an FE college, so obviously they've got a range of different departments, and they've really used it to look at their own approach and see what departments need to be included in what conversations. And I think they're not just thinking about we're just supporting this individual, they're really using it as a kind of a learning curve as well to see how they can improve their practice for all, not just autistic individuals, because it'll kind of open to the wider SEND individuals, but how they can really improve their practice, support these individuals the best they can, but take that forward as well.
I would say, as accompanying everything that Charlotte's just mentioned, one of a key result, I think, or a success of the program up until this date is getting some really important organisations to the table and to consider this issue really seriously. So people like the Institute for Apprenticeships or the Education and Skill Funding Agency, we have these governmental bodies genuinely interested and listening to the results of this project with the intention to take the feedback and the outcomes and the models that we suggest into consideration and on board. If we zoom out and consider the initial context that is systemically prohibiting autistic people accessing employment, some of those are at a really procedural level. If assessments can't be changed because of the certain criteria, well, that is going to disadvantage autistic learners. So if we can in any way support that to be changed or developed or made more flexible, that is going to be a huge outcome of this project. And I think we have the ear of the right people to make those changes.
Just coming back to that as well, from our experience, as Frank just said, they've been all those organisations, so the SFA, the Institute, have been really, really open to listening and kind of taking the feedback back. So I just wanted to make that point, like Frank's kind of alluded to, that they are really open to the feedback, and hopefully we can, if there's enough evidence to prove so, we can maybe make some changes that support these individuals in progressing. So as part of the project, we've got an employer subgroup. So that's just made up of employers that some of them are already employing autistic individuals. Some of them just want to find out more and can talk about their challenges as to why they may not have previously. And that's been a great opportunity to just come together and just share some of those things that you probably think is just your problem, but then when you start talking to other employers, it's actually a more common problem. And we've really been able to pick up on them and see what employers need to best support individuals with autism. So I think that's one of the positives from kind of bringing those employers together. We've also obviously shared the employer toolkits with them, and there's been really good feedback on them. They've kind of expressed that it's really good to have all that useful information all in one place, because it can be confusing, as I've kind of said. And we are really keen to work with employers more closely going forward to ensure that they are confident in supporting autistic employees going forward.
And just to sort of follow on from what Charlotte was saying, I think also and also to refer to maybe some of the challenges that maybe are a part of the program. There is clearly, through conversations and subgroup meetings and research we've done, a lot of anxiety in the system related to apprenticeships more generally, but also adding on top of that a sort of a neurodiversity, and employers feeling unsure as to whether they know what they need to do in order to make their work environment sufficiently inclusive, or provide all the support and the things that an autistic person might need. And I think just giving a space for which employers can, as Charlotte said, recognize that that's not just your problem or your concern, and that's actually quite a broader concern that people have, and and again can make apprenticeships not as accessible for neurodiverse people. We've hit upon a really important point there, and I think that is what employers have told us, and what we're hoping to reflect and look to support with the training and the content that it gets distributed through the Cash Alumni platform.
I think the main thing is it is a really supportive environment. Training providers obviously want these individuals to succeed, and they're going to place them with employers that really understand their needs. So it's just that support. It's not just kind of all down to the employer. They have got that training provider, not just supporting the individual, but the employer as well. And that's obviously, as Frank kind of alluded to, that confidence is one of the things that's lacking within kind of this area of work. And if an employer's got a really supportive training provider, that kind of we've helped as well to kind of build their confidence in supporting people. The employers, their confidence is obviously going to grow. They're going to have someone that they can pick up the phone to and say, how do I do this? How can I make things more inclusive, and that kind of thing. So just that support of not just the support relying on just the employer, it's the training provider as well. Obviously there's a lot of on-the-job learning for apprenticeships, and that may be beneficial to some autistic individuals. I know we've had examples before of where classroom environments, so kind of college and university, may not be be a good place for an autistic individual, because they can feel overwhelmed and it kind of a little bit too much. So with apprenticeships, where a lot of the time the delivery from the provider is often delivered one-to-one or virtually, it offers that different kind of option for autistic individuals to learn. One of the things that we're finding is the importance of kind of all stakeholders being involved. So I've kind of mentioned the employer and the training provider, but also involving the parent where appropriate, depending on obviously the relationship and the age of the individual. And what we're trying to kind of emphasise is the referral agency as well, and especially in the initial phases of the apprenticeship. Referral agencies often have worked with these individuals for a long time, so they've got a lot of background information that might not come across on a form that they've filled in to apply for an apprenticeship. So bringing in the referral agency where possible is really vital to kind of give that range of support and ensure that everyone understands the needs of the individual. One last thing about apprenticeships, really, we're not saying the perfect answer, and kind of there's some challenges still within apprenticeships that we're working on, and I've mentioned the reasonable adjustments paper that we've kind of pulled together specifically around endpoint assessment. So there is still some challenges and barriers within apprenticeships that might not be kind of as inclusive and supportive of an autistic individual, but we're hoping through this project we can pull them out and maybe influence some change around them to make them more inclusive.
Yeah, I think the important point to make is that if you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person, and everybody's presentation of autism is different. So apprenticeships, as a broad brushstroke, are not going to always be the ideal. However, there is, once the person is on placement with an employer, you are in the space in which you are going to be working, and it's quite literal, it's quite grounded, and it's a space that over time an autistic person can become comfortable in. They can get to know their peers, they can get to know their colleagues in a way that they might not necessarily, if they have done a degree thinking about a job in the future, and it's all very hypothetical, and they might not necessarily have the confidence to take that next step, or get blocked at the point of interview or recruitment. So apprenticeships, because they're on the job, do provide a really unique opportunity for autistic people to really understand the working environment that they are choosing to be in and make the choice for themselves.